43 networks aired the clip. Not one of them aired the 60 seconds that made it necessary. Nobody in the studio expected him to go that far. Not the floor director, who had worked 100 political celebrity panels and believed, at 8:47 p.m. when the taping began, that the segment would produce the standard outcome. Jackson quotable, passionate, controlled. The way he is always controlled, which is not the absence of fire, but fire operating within a structure that knows exactly how much oxygen to give it. Not the production assistant who had spent 2 days pulling research and described in a debrief the following morning the specific moment she realized she had built a document that was not going to stay in the folder. Not the host, who had conducted 40 minutes of preliminary conversation and arrived at what she believed was the segment's emotional peak before Jackson reached into his jacket. The clip that broke the internet was 14 seconds. Jackson at the desk. One sentence, then silence, then the audience. Not all at once, not in a wave, but in the specific, fractured, individual way that 400 people respond to something that lands differently for each of them and arrives at the same place by different roads. What came before those 14 seconds was the 60 that nobody aired. 12 hours before the clip hit 14 million views. By morning, 31. By the following evening, the transcript of the 60 seconds before it, leaked by a crew member who said she felt ethically obligated, had been read by more people than had seen the clip itself. This is what happened in those 60 seconds. Trump's statement had arrived at the production office at 4:52 p.m., 4 hours before taping. Standard pre-show communications. The White House had been notified of the booking, had issued a response for the record, had used 8 sentences to say the same thing Trump had been saying since 2016, when he first claimed in a tweet that he didn't know Samuel L. Jackson and had never played golf with him. The statement described Jackson as a Hollywood radical. It used the phrase low IQ in the 3rd sentence. It was printed and placed without editorial comment in the research packet. Jackson read it backstage. He read it the way he reads things, completely, once, without visible reaction, the way a person reads something they expected and are now simply confirming. He handed it back. He said 3 words to the production assistant. Did he now? Then he asked for a pen and wrote something on the back of a note card. He put the note card in his jacket pocket. He did not reference it again until the moment it mattered. The taping, the desk. Jackson settling into the guest chair with the particular quality of settlement that belongs to people who take up space as a statement, not as a performance. He adjusted his jacket, both sides, slowly, the precise and deliberate adjustment of a man deciding the exact configuration of the thing he is wearing before the thing he is wearing becomes part of what he is saying. He adjusted his cuffs once each. He looked at the host with the flat, complete attention of someone who has decided that the next 42 minutes belong to him and has made this decision so completely that the room has already accepted it. He answered the first 12 minutes of questions with the precision he always brings, direct, fully formed, unambiguous. When the host raised Trump's claim of not knowing him, the 2016 tweet, the boring actor too many commercials formulation, Jackson looked at the camera for 1 second before answering. Not at the host, at the camera. At the specific lens that would carry this particular answer to the specific people who needed to hear it most. He said, "I've played golf with that man more times than I can count. He cheats." He said, "He knows exactly who I am." He said it the same way you confirm a fact that someone has asked you to confirm despite already knowing it, with the patience of someone who understands that the record requires the correction even when the correction is unnecessary. The host asked about the low IQ characterization. Jackson reached into his jacket pocket, the note card. He placed it flat on the desk with the economy of a man placing a single chip on a single number. He looked at it for 1 second. Then at the host. He said, "Let's take an inventory." He stopped. He started over. He said, "Let's do a structural assessment of who in this conversation has demonstrated what on the record, in public, with documentation available." He said, "I graduated from Morehouse College. I have a degree in drama. I have appeared in 150 feature films. I have produced, served as an executive producer on, and co-financed 14 independent productions." He said each line in the hard-cut tempo of a man reading items from a list, because they are items on a list and lists are not dramatic. They are factual. He said, "The man who called me low IQ has been fact-checked on public record over 30,000 times." He said, "The scaffolding of that particular insult, the low IQ formulation, has been applied applied to every person who has criticized him with a credential longer than his own attention span. He used the word once, flatly, as a diagnostic term. He said, "It's scaffolding. It holds up nothing. It just stands there looking like something structural." The audience went quiet. Not the between-laughs quiet of a late-night set. The specific quiet of a room in which something has been named so precisely that the naming requires a moment to settle. Then Jackson looked directly at the camera again. He said, "I've known that man since before he was a punchline." He said, "I know what he was, and I know what he became, and I know what the difference between those two things cost." He said, "When someone has to insult everyone who questions him, they're not defending a position. They're defending the scaffolding." He used the word a second time. The same register, the same flat diagnostic precision. The room absorbed it, not with applause, not with laughter, but with the specific, low, sustained sound of 400 people processing a thing that has just become clear to them in a form it hadn't been clear in before. Then the 14 seconds. He looked at the host. He said, in the voice that 20 years of film has made the most recognizable instrument of controlled force in American cinema, "I'm not angry." He paused. He said, "I'm tired of explaining why this matters to people who already know why it matters and have decided that knowing is not enough reason to act." The room did not erupt. It held, for one full second, the way a room holds when something has been said that requires a breath before the response. Then it broke, individually, in the fractured way. A man in the third row who pressed both hands to his face. A woman beside him who started clapping before her hands were fully raised. A floor director at the back of the set who set his clipboard down on the floor beside him without looking at it, the way you set something down when your hands need to be free for something your body has decided to do before your mind catches up. Jackson looked at the note card on the desk. He picked it up. He put it back in his jacket pocket. He looked at the host and said, "Next question." The clip was online at 11:07 p.m., 14 seconds, beginning at, "I'm not angry." By 11:31, it had been viewed 6 million times. By 3 a.m., 22 million. Trump posted at 1:14 a.m., calling Jackson a failed actor living off Marvel checks, a radical Hollywood puppet, a low IQ performer who nobody takes seriously. Each post screenshotted within 90 seconds and placed beside the 150 film filmography without comment. The 60 seconds before the 14 were leaked at 6:17 a.m. by a crew member who said one thing in her post: "You deserve to hear what came before it." The 60-second clip ran separately from the 14, finding a different audience at a different speed, producing a different kind of engagement. Not the immediate viral rupture of the 14 seconds, but the slower, more durable spread of something that rewards the watching twice. Forums pulled Trump's complete record of low IQ designations. 41 separate public figures, 32 of them with advanced degrees, 19 of them with documented career records longer than Trump's own. The list was not presented as an argument. It was presented as the scaffolding, visible from the outside, stripped of the facade, standing in the open for anyone who wanted to count the pieces and determine what, if anything, they were holding up. Jackson had counted them. He had written what he found on a note card. He had put the note card in his jacket pocket and waited for the right desk to put it on. The desk was ready. The camera was running. The 60 seconds did the work, and the 14 seconds that followed them were not an explosion. They were a conclusion, reached at the end of a logical sequence, delivered in the voice that makes logical sequences feel like thunder, placed on the record where it will remain long after the posts calling him low IQ have been forgotten by everyone except the people who archived them beside the filmography. If this changed how you see power, hit subscribe. If it didn't, watch it again. The details you missed the first time are the ones that matter most. Notifications on. The next one drops soon.